What is the purpose of education?
Well, I think the purpose of education is to prepare somebody for the rest of their life. So that means that they need knowledge, they need information, they need reasoning skills, a whole group of things in order to prepare them for how do they navigate as an independent adult.
Do you think that that is the general rule in education today, that that's what's happening? Is it real education that's happening in the classroom?
No. I mean, the traditional model is there's a body of information and ideas that somebody needs to have in order to be an educated person. Often the goal is to prepare the person to be a good citizen. That's often considered the goal. That's not what I consider the goal, but so the concern with whether you're developing the proper habits and skills and virtues that you need to live as an independent person is not really of concern in traditional education usually.
And why do you think that has shifted? Why we moved from a model where becoming a whole person was the rule, or might have been the rule, to something where we're simply preparing people to be a certain kind of person or to be a certain kind of worker, for example, because I think that that's also something we see in education today. How has that shift happened? Or how have we arrived there?
Well, if you consider the way most people were educated in the United States originally, it was at home or at most in one of these one-room schoolhouses that was run by the local people, the township, their parents. They hired somebody. Very often the schools that did exist were organized for religious purposes too. There were those kinds of schools, and of course those schools did have a certain model of behavior and ethic that they were concerned about. What kind of person did they want to produce? But if we're talking about the non-sectarian schools, if your parents were educating you, they were educating you in their values, right? And their skills and whatever level of society they were at. In the early 19th century, there was this concern that you needed to have, there's a true concern that you need to have an educated populace in order to have a well-functioning republic. They need to be able to think, they need to be able to know some history, some ideas, recognize what's going on, know their rights, make good choices, and figure out how to elect their representatives that are actually going to protect their rights. So, I mean, that's a real concern. But the powers that be decided there were too many people coming to the United States as immigrants who were not getting educated at home. So, well, we have to start providing that. And that's when the whole public school movement came along in the early 19th century with Horace Mann, starting in Massachusetts. Massachusetts has always been a real hotbed of education because of the legacy of the Pilgrims who came over. That idea was, okay, we have to have an educated populace, and then somebody was deciding what that education should be.